Today, I saw a video from the governing body. It's part of their Gilead graduation, and it was talking about dedication and baptism and the meaning of that, and these things kind of made my blood boil, so I wanted to share it with you guys. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we are looking at one of the greatest speakers on earth, if I might say so myself, one of the new governing body members. I think this guy's Gage Flegel, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about dedication and baptism and what that means for Jehovah's Witnesses. Quickly, before we get into it though, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us get out to more videos, our people on YouTube, and all of that good stuff. I really messed up the intro, but I have a cool sweater, so...
Let's consider our second point now, though. We belong to Jehovah. Do you remember the day of your baptism? Do you remember the smell of the water?
The slow talkers of America.
Do you remember the smell of the water? If it was in an assembly hall, maybe chlorine. If you were baptized in the sea, maybe there was a salt smell. Maybe the temperature of the water was what struck you the most. What about the baptism talk or the baptism questions? Well, every year we're reminded of the questions 3 times, right? 2 assemblies and 1 convention. Have you repented of your sins, dedicated yourself to Jehovah, and accepted his way of salvation through Jesus Christ? And second, do you understand that your baptism identifies you as one of Jehovah's Witnesses in association with his organization? Well, before hundreds, perhaps thousands of people, of course, the most important witnesses being in the heavens, we answered yes to those questions. And then we were baptized. And how we made Jehovah's heart rejoice on that day.
Now, when I was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness, we had a little extra bit in there where we would say it was the Spirit-directed organization, and then they've dropped that Spirit-directed thing altogether. Mostly because the governing body tries to play this weird thing where they say, hey, believe us no matter what. We are absolutely 100% right because God is leading us. And then at the same time, for legal reasons, they say, well, we've never said that God is leading us, and we've never said that we're perfect, and, you know, we can make mistakes. So always interesting to hear the new baptism questions, because I'm always reminded of the ones that I answered as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, something else that I had not really thought about before until he mentioned this was... when you go to the assemblies and conventions, as he says, 3 times a year, you're reminded of those baptism questions. And that's like a little subtle indoctrination tactic that I never really was cognizant of before. So each time that you hear those baptism talks, which are always terribly boring and monotonous and tedious, it is this subtle reminder of the dedication that you made, and it's going to play a big part in what he is going to say next, because Jehovah's Witnesses need to be reminded of this promise that you actually made.
But dedication is a personal choice. Our parents can't make that decision for us. Our Bible teacher can't make that decision for us. Dedication to Jehovah is personal. And why did we dedicate our life to Jehovah? Because we love him. We love his organization. Because we learned about his beautiful personality. And during Gilead, you've learned many more reasons to love Jehovah and his organization.
Wow, he is really pounding home this Jehovah and his organization. And for all of the times that I reiterate the point that when they say Jehovah, it is synonymous with the organization. Here's a clear example of why I'm always saying that. The two are completely intertwined. You don't have Jehovah without the organization. You don't have the organization without Jehovah. But man, he's really feeding it to him, hitting him over the head with a baseball bat here. But this is something that I find curious. When he says that it's a personal decision, no one else can make it for you. Your parents can't make it for you. Your Bible teacher can't make it for you. That is very weak when you take into consideration growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. You are completely saturated with Jehovah's Witness life when you grow up in the organization. And you are basically cut off from the outside real world. There's not a world outside of it. When you're a Jehovah's Witness kid, you cannot even envision what life on the outside of the organization is or what it would look like. It goes that deep. All of your friends, even if you have family members that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, you don't talk to them hardly, maybe a tiny bit, but there's nothing on the outside. That's cool. ZZ just puked on my desk. That's awesome. Good job, buddy. That's awesome. That's dynamite. We out. Okay, we're replacing ZZ with Winston. Winston, can you not puke in here? Thank you very much. Okay, well, after that whole kerfuffle, I can't even remember exactly what I was saying, but the long and short of it is, when you grow up as a Jehovah's Witness, it's not really a choice. It's just the norm. It's not a personal dedication that you're making. It's not something that you decide. It's just something that kind of is. On very rare occasions, there are people that hold out and wait and don't want to be dedicated or get baptized because they want to be sure. But for the majority, the vast majority of people, they just get baptized because that's just what you do. And you do it when you're between like 10 and 13 years old. And that is that. And they want to hold you to that forever. And he's about to express that right now.
Belonging to Jehovah, written in permanent ink. We can't tell Jehovah that our dedication was a mistake. No. We've attached ourselves to the Almighty God. What a privilege that is, to belong to the only true God. We're proud to bear his name, Jehovah.
I think it's important to remember who he's actually talking about, because most Jehovah's Witnesses, in my experience, are baptized by the time they're like 13. A lot even younger, some as young as like 7 or 8 years old. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I think I told my grandma that I was going to marry her one day. What are you saying, that you are going to write something in permanent ink and you can't say oopsie? Imagine a scenario and any other situation where every single like anything that a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old says they're going to do, you hold that to them for the rest of their entire lives. It's absolutely absurd for him to even be thinking this way, especially with a smile. But the real problem comes when you think about how the governing body, the people that are synonymous with Jehovah, are allowed to change their minds at any time. Classic example is 2023. I'm going to do a video before the end of the year about all of the changes, because I just went back and looked, and they made so many massive changes that the organization between, 2020 and 2024 is going to be vastly different. May I say a completely different organization altogether, because of all of the changes they've made over the last couple of years. And they're allowed to do it, and yet you are not. This is what it means to be in a toxic relationship. This is what it means to be in a doomsday cult. I can do this. I can change my mind. I can make policy changes that will affect millions of people. But you as an individual cannot make a choice that affects you personally. This is when someone has so much control over your life that they get to just do whatever they want, and you get to do nothing without asking for permission. The beards is a perfect example. I'm going to do a video and go to a Kingdom Hall just so I can see how many of the people there are wearing beards, but grown men waiting for permission to grow a beard, they can make that change. And yet, if you are an 8-year-old that gets baptized into this organization, that is permanent ink. Why do they have a double standard? Why can't the governing body hold themselves to that standard as well and be like, well, this is what's in the Bible, this is the explanation that we've given, and we are going to stick to it no matter what, it's permanent ink. Well, no, they get to have whiteout, but you don't get to. And it's a very important thing to remember because it can help you as you move forward and out of this religion to not fall into the same trap and to be cognizant of how these parasites in society work. So that way, as soon as someone says, no, you have to think this way, and you cannot think outside of the box. You can't make your own choices. This is the way we think. If you're a part of any group of people that think that way, I hate to break it to you, but you need to get out because, boy howdy, you have not left the Jehovah's Witnesses. You've only replaced the Jehovah's Witnesses with something else.
I'd like you to think about what you heard at the beginning, and I'd like you to think about what you hear now. Because it was nothing, and it's still nothing. Think about that. Or don't, that's fine. And now I'm going to stop talking.
You belong to me. Of course, Jehovah here is speaking about his people as a whole, but he knows us individually. 2 Timothy 2, verse 19 tells us directly, Jehovah knows those who belong to him. He has a personal attachment to each of us. That's how Jehovah feels about all of his precious servants. That's how Jehovah feels about you.
Now, I've cut out most of this talk, but I can just give you the sort of download here. Don't worry, I'm sparing you. But he basically is always intertwining Jehovah and his organization. Every time he says Jehovah and his organization for this whole build-up here, right? So for the last 15 minutes, he's like Jehovah and his organization, Jehovah and his organization. And then he does this little thing where he can't say and his organization now because he says you belong to Jehovah. But you've already been conditioned to think to yourself, you belong to Jehovah and his organization. It's a weird little, I don't know if it's a if they're aware that they are trying to incept this idea that the organization and Jehovah are one and the same, but it really seems like he knows what he's doing here, because when he's saying, no, you belong to Jehovah, he owns you. You are his slave. You think to yourself, oh, that's fine. Absolutely, 100%. I dedicated my life. It's a permanent contract. I can't go back on it now. So yeah, I belong to Jehovah. But what he's saying is that you're a slave for Watchtower. That's what's just happened through the course of this talk. And in my personal experience of being a Jehovah's Witness, that's what it is. You're nothing more than a slave for Watchtower. You will do or not do whatever they say. Sure, you might break some rules around the fringes and think for yourself and do your own thing, but ultimately, you are a slave for them. And breaking out of that mentality can be extraordinarily difficult, but first becoming aware of what was going on is very helpful, and then trying to break out of that is like the next step. Okay, well, how do I get rid of this mentality where I'm always reliant on someone else to make decisions for me. I'm always relying on other people to tell me what to do or how to live my life, or I'm always looking for structure that someone else gives me instead of being self-reliant, where you make decisions on your own. You forge a path for yourself. And that is one of the biggest challenges of being an ex-Jehovah's Witness, is forging that path on your own, planting your feet and saying, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the direction I want my life to go. And then confidently moving in the direction of your dreams. I think I just quoted Thoreau without even thinking about it. Anyway, if you have built castles in the sky, you need not worry. That is where they should be. Now, put the foundations under them. I'm just going to quote Thoreau all day. Anyway, with all that being said, a couple of interesting things that I did want to talk about here. I am going to do a recap video of all of the crazy changes, so that'll be out in the next couple days. With all of that being said, thank you for watching. If you're still around, don't forget to drop a like on the video. It helps get out to more people on YouTube. Stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to smile. And I hope you had a cool Christmas and you got some cool loot.
What would you like for Christmas, little boy?
I don't know. I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
What did you think was going to happen?
I didn't know. Nobody's ever let me sit on their lap before.
All right, just say some toys, please.
Can you give me some choices? Because I really don't want to mess up on this list.
Damn it, Kevin, come on.